let's start with the easy one. We're going to talk about Horizon Forbidden West. So basically, this week it's been coming around rumors that Horizon Forbidden West is going to be delayed. So this is I'm gonna read from Andy Robinson at Video Game Chronicle. So he's saying, for Horizon Forbidden West is going to be delayed. He says that's according to Games Beat journalist Jeff Grubb, who said on his Giant Bomb show on Thursday that he'd heard via a source that Sony would likely push the Guerrilla title to next year and could announce the slip in a live stream around September. Sony previously warned that Horizon Forbidden West might not be released during this calendar year as planned, stating that it wasn't prepared to compromise quality or the health of its developers to get the game out during a period when AAA game development has been pummeled by the pandemic. And then they updated later that Sony Interactive has decided to delay Horizon Forbidden West into next year, according to another report. Adam, is Horizon Forbidden West going to come out in 2021?
I'm starting to think it won't.
Yeah.
I really wanted to, because you want something to kind of cap off what's been, I guess, not even a bad year, but like a bad 2 years. You want like something cool to really come out towards the end to kind of cap off this whole, everybody's finally starting to get vaccinated. All this is finally coming to somewhat of an end for whatever that means. And it looks like we're going to be waiting a little bit longer. The catch, I guess, is who knows? Maybe that just makes next year even more of an absolute bomb of a year. So it depends on which way you look at it. If you're a glass half empty guy, you're pretty upset. And if you're a glass half full guy, you're thinking, man, 2022 is going to be so good.
Yeah, I'm with you as well. I think they're going to delay it. I think they're at a perfect point to delay it. There hasn't been a huge amount of marketing for it. I mean, we had that one state of play, and that's pretty much been it. So it's not like they've spent a huge amount of money to get this buzz around it, and now they're pulling it out. It's, it's people are excited. There's definitely hype for it, and we've definitely seen some footage. But yeah, I think like they haven't invested enough that they're going to lose a lot of marketing budget that they've already spent. So if they're going to delay it, I think now is the time. And I think given everything that's been going on, I mean, if you missed it, you may have not caught it, but we had a pandemic, and so that is definitely going to impact game development. And I think we'll talk about this later, like what does 2022 look like for gaming? But let's kind of keep it a little bit more current. What does this mean for Sony by delaying for Horizon Forbidden West?
If it means anything like monetarily, I don't think it does. I think it just puts another sore spot in Sony fans right now, especially coming off of E3. Now, we both collectively looked at E3 as not the biggest show that it could have been. But I mean, if you're a Sony fanboy, you're sitting there being like, okay, but if we're going console war here, I want my fodder so I can punch every Microsoft and Nintendo fanboy in the face because they're wrong. Because, now that we have nothing to show, it's like, okay, but what do I have to point at people and be like, hey, you guys got nothing coming, look what I got. Now it's just, you're sitting there in the dark. Now, from a normal person like us, we're just sitting there being like, man, I got stuff I can play, but it'd be cool to see what else is coming. Like, it'd be cool to see a couple of surprises or, a couple of unannounced things that we don't know about yet, or even just a trailer for God of War Ragnarok, which I hear is supposedly coming soon in the next month. Who knows? But, like, right now, it's to know that we're likely what was going to be the biggest game of this year for Sony players is now probably not coming this year. It's a bit of a downer. But I think, like I said earlier, it just depends on how your outlook is. For me, I'm like, okay, whatever, do what you got to do to make this thing absolutely 10 out of 10 worthy when it comes out, whenever that is next year. And I'll find something else to do. But I can also see the other side, which is, man, I was really looking forward to playing this too.
Yeah, you see, I'm of the mind that I think for Sony, this is a huge loss. I mean, people have put a lot of money in, like, it's been difficult to get a PS5, and I think for some, this might be the tipping point that they're like, you know what, I can wait in terms of getting a PS5, like without Horizon. Like, there hasn't been a huge amount of big first party, titles that make me, I need to buy a PlayStation. Miles Morales is on the PS4. Ratchet and Clank is, Returnal is a very niche game. So like, it's not everyone's talking about it. Like, it's a set group of people who like it, and it's a good game from what I hear. I'm not playing it because I'm not into those kind of games, but like, it's a niche game. And then Ratchet and Clank is probably the most universal in terms of big first party games, and even that one was like, it was great, but it's a short 15-hour campaign and that's it. So I think for Sony to come up at the holiday season and they really have nothing. I mean, they've got Deathloop, which who knows what that's going to look like, but I think that's going to be once again a very niche game for a certain target audience. Kena Bridge of Spirits, which we haven't heard much of either, and
I think that's being delayed as well, but I think it should still be coming out this year if I'm not mistaken.
I think it's been delayed to September or October. So like your big Sony AAA games are going to be Kena Bridge of Spirits and Deathloop, and those are both coming out in September.
I mean, I guess the devil's advocate then would be okay, but what is Microsoft doing that is countering that? Nothing really, unless you're talking Game Pass, which is still the great thing. Well, when's Halo coming out?
Soon.
So I mean, at this time right now, like it's downing for Sony fans, but realistically, like if you're looking at the console war status, you're still winning in terms of like the games at the top, because I mean you're still looking at Demon Souls, Returnal, despite what you may think about it being niche, and then you also have Ratchet and Clank. So there is something there. It's not like the console is completely pointless. Not to mention Miles Morales, you did say is PS4, but there is a PS5 version with some upgrade improvements. I just finished Final Fantasy VII Remake with its graphical improvements, and it makes a big difference. I said it from the very beginning, and I'll say it again. If anybody's looking at this console in the first year thinking that it was going to be a games powerhouse, you better chill for a minute, because the whole point of this console was that we were going to spend this first little bit marveling at the fact of what 60 frames consistently is, not to mention a little bit of a better graphical fidelity. You're getting that 4K. So it's like, okay, guys, like everybody, it's been a pandemic and everybody's trying to figure out how to work with this new technology with the SSD and the graphics pushing and the 60 frames. Like, you got to give it a minute. And especially with the pandemic, like I said, it was going to add up. And it's like, okay, we knew that the first year was probably going to be a bit of a wash. It's the fact that we got Ratchet, the fact that we're probably getting Kena, the fact that we got Demon Souls. We got a couple of things here to at least be like, okay, well, it wasn't for naught in the first 12 months. But now we start looking at something like 2022 and being like, all right, now that we're looking at potentially a full 12 to 18 months of people back in the offices and getting to work on stuff, what are we getting now? 2022 is really going to be that year, I think, for both Microsoft and Sony to be like, all right, here's where we're standing in the next little while.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you. I think 2022 is going to be, I think for both publishers, but I think Sony is going to be the one real winner coming out in 2022, just because they have theoretically Horizon Forbidden West. But this now raises the question of, when does God of War come out? Are we going to see a situation like Last of Us Part 2 and Ghost of Tsushima, where you have two of some of Sony's biggest, franchises, or one, like the biggest franchise, I'd say probably right now, plus another huge one coming out month after month from each other, like they did with Ghost of Tsushima or Last of Us? Do they bump out God of War? And that's not even to say like the other games that we see, like maybe next year we see Spider-Man, like that one's due to be coming out imminently. So like, are we going to see a banner year for Sony games next year?
I mean, as a guy who's been over the moon with all these Marvel properties that have come out in the last, couple of months, I've had 3 television series and a movie so far, and we got another one coming not too long now in Shang-Chi. I am not going to complain if I get 5 blockbusters in 1 year. I do not care. It can be within the span of 4 months. I do not care. I will get to them eventually, and if I will love every single one of them, it doesn't matter to me. So I mean, if I'm a Sony owner, and you're telling me, well, we're going to push back Horizon, so that means Horizon and God of War and possibly a new Uncharted game and whatever else that we come out with, it might all be coming in the same year. I'll be going, good. I'm down. Let's go.
Yeah. And that's not even to say what Microsoft is bringing to the table. I mean, you've got Starfield coming out next year. I think for Horizon is coming out as well, isn't
Forza Horizon? Yeah, it should be.
Forza Horizon. Yeah. What did I call it? I said Horizon.
I think you just said Horizon. I mean, at this point, like there's Fable. A whole lot of unsurety, because not much is still dated. Mm-hmm. Most of it's like, okay, it should be coming out in the next little while. Like, you got to think, Ghost. We got to be getting a thing on Ghostwire Tokyo or Gotham Knights or the Suicide Squad game, Gran Turismo 7, Hogwarts Legacy. There's a lot of stuff that we're still waiting to hear on, and they could be things that are coming out even a year after that, which would be a shame. But I mean, there's so much of a possibility of the things that we already know exist, let alone things that are still unannounced at this point. So
Yeah.
And that's why it, like we said earlier, like 2022 is shaping up to be maybe not one of the best years we might ever get for games, but it's shaping up to be a potential for that.
Oh, I think
there might be a
2022.
lot of stuff coming out in the
I
same
think
time.
2022 is going to be remembered as one of the best years of gaming. I think just like we're seeing the effects of the pandemic right now, and we knew that this was coming. We knew that there was going to be a delay in games. Like the reason why we didn't see it at the beginning is because a lot of those things were already done. We're now seeing the projects that were impacted by COVID-19. And so I think next year you're going to see a plethora of games come out. Hopefully, I mean, I hope it's not the latter case that those games also got pushed out. Like I hope that they can kind of make up that difference. So,
and ideally too, we're going to be in so much of a positive attitude coming out of assuming we come out of a pandemic in a full year, and we're going to be sitting there watching all these games, just being like, all right, this is what we mustered through 2 years for. This is what we worked towards. So I mean, there's going to be a potential that a lot of games, especially if like even half of all these games come out at like great tier quality, man, it's going to be one of those years you kind of look back at, like, say some people look at like say a 2010 for games and just being like, man, there were just so many bangers that year.
I think we're going to have a rematch between, Breath of the Wild 2 and Horizon 2. It's going to be the rematch between the two of them.
Let's go.